I am a big fan of 28 Days Later. To this day, it still stands as probably my favorite zombie flick of all time. And its sequel, 28 Weeks Later, while not as captivating or compelling, is a solid follow up with fantastic performances. When it was announced that Boyle and Garland would be teaming back up for another sequel, I was obviously excited. And after finally getting around to seeing it, I gotta say, my feelings are a bit conflicted. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you're new to the channel, check it out. I make retrospectives, reactions, all kinds of reviews, all the good stuff. Let me know what you think. Let's dive into 28 Years Later. This movie is beautiful. It's beautifully shot, beautifully edited, and the directing is astounding. And it touches on some pretty heavy themes like social isolation, the fragile nature of our civilization, and how we deal with loss and grief and overcome such tragedies. I enjoyed all of those aspects. I think all of those themes are logical streams to take 28 years on from the events of the original film. In fact, I enjoyed pretty much almost everything about this film. The performances are top notch. Jodie Comer and Ralph Fiennes are excellent as always. I actually think this is one of my favorite Ralph Fiennes performances. He's not in this movie a ton, but the performance he gives is so moving and intimate that he really outshines most of the cast. I say most because Alfie Williams, who plays our lead character Spike, is incredible. This kid doesn't have a lot of on-screen experience from what I can tell. He had only done 2 credited on-camera performances up to this point, one of them being His Dark Materials, which I don't even remember him in that show. But in this, he's fantastic. It's hard to cast good child actors sometimes and also have that young, inexperienced actor carry the bulk of a film. But Williams never falters, and this movie is elevated because of his performance. It's poignant yet inspiring, it's restrained yet gripping. It's even more impressive when you realize that in his most emotionally taxing scenes in this movie, that he's standing opposite Comer and Fiennes, and he does not miss a beat. One would think that going toe-to-toe with 2 experienced and highly regarded performers such as them, that the young thespian might get overshadowed, but he never does. He rises to the challenge every time. The action, like the first film, is great. It's frenetic, it's chaotic, and at times downright horrifying. It's bloody, and it's just what you love about a crazy zombie horror flick. I also very much enjoyed the concepts that Garland and Boyle presented. Spike, his mother Isla, and father Jamie live in a village on the British Isles on the island of Lindisfarne, isolated from the mainland and the rest of continental Europe, which has eradicated the rage virus. In the current state of the world, the British Isles are an indefinite quarantine zone. They live in their own universe, essentially. The villagers hunt and scavenge for food. They proudly perform coming-of-age rituals for teenagers where they travel to the mainland to experience the outside world. There are seemingly other groups and cults that exist across the infected area, and even Fiennes' character is a former doctor who lives a reclusive lifestyle as he spends his days commemorating the dead by building structures and monuments out of their remains. These, again, are all interesting concepts. The problem is that most of them are completely surface level. I appreciate coming back to this world, and I do want to see more of it. And I will even concede that Garland and Boyle had a difficult task trying to introduce us to this world, because let's be honest, this is a different world. We are 28 years removed from Jim in the original Outbreak, and because they have to craft a new setting, introduce new characters, and establish new cultures and lifestyles, it's enjoyable, very much so, but it feels like so much setup for what is coming next. and that is this movie's biggest flaw. The first 10 minutes is spent presenting the experience of this young boy, Jimmy, during the initial outbreak as he escapes and flees his home after his entire family has been infected. And then we spend the next hour and a half or so with Spike and learning about him and his situation. And then we're reintroduced to Jimmy in the final moments as an adult. And it's sort of a cliffhanger ending. And I know there are 2 sequels coming after this, but you can't help but feel like we received a lot of information without actually receiving a lot of information. The Village, for instance, we see it, we know about it, but we don't really know anything about it. It seems like they still live normal lives for the most part. It seems like they still utilize quite a bit of modern technology, but they hunt with bows and they scavenge to stay alive. It's sort of confusing. On multiple occasions, Jamie is seen cooking on a stove, which is either gas or electric. Either way, you have to have access to that power. Where is that coming from, if this is an isolated, quarantined island? It's never really explained why the rest of the world is fine and has overcome the virus, but the Isles are just off limits to everyone. Wouldn't we just send in teams of people to clear out the infected and rescue survivors? Like I said, good concepts are presented, but are never explained or elaborated upon in depth. Maybe they will be in the sequels, but I would have liked just a bit more detail. Legacy sequels are tough to do. For the most part, a lot of them just take advantage of the nostalgia left in the wake of the originals and squeeze a mediocre story out of it that's just a rehash of the original but of a lesser quality. Take Jurassic World or The Force Awakens, for example. But when you have movies like Top Gun Maverick or Fury Road that use nostalgia and the goodwill from the original and do something different, something arguably better, and I think that's the best thing that this movie does. This is very different than 28 Days, and it's better for it. It never relies on nostalgia to hook the audience. There are no returning characters, yet at least. But it's its own story, which is its greatest strength. But also its biggest flaw because it partially collapses under the weight of trying to create this new world and establish these new characters. That being said, maybe once we have the 2 sequels and are able to analyze the full scope of this new trilogy, maybe this film will feel a bit more complete.